what jumps out to me is that this guy in the middle is a Chinese man, but he's dressed up like a British hunter. So this is probably in the colonial heydays. And they all seem pretty happy that they've shot this big animal. So yeah, probably not as well respected as they were in the Hikayat Hang Tuah.
I have a bad feeling that the white crocodile might have ended up like this poor fellow. But something gets my hopes up.
So this is an article from 1960. So it says that there was a black crocodile that appeared in Punggol, but then a few days later it returned with a new one which was white in color, but the same size as the other one. Very happy that I found at least one pretty good evidence that such a crocodile existed.
What's even better is that crocodiles can live up to 70 years, so the Punggol white crocodile might still be around today.
But it also got me a bit concerned about what could have happened to this white crocodile because we see so many instances of trophy hunting.
I need to know if our crocodile friend ended up as yet another hunting trophy. If it did, it must be on display somewhere. So I head to the Lee Kong Chian Natural History Museum, which holds plenty of donated hunting specimens.
So this is one of the specimens that have been donated to us. This one's Kaiser.
Kate is responsible for restoring many of the museum's specimens. Looking at these stuffed animals, I dread her response to my first question.
So Kate, has the museum received any specimens of a white crocodile, especially from the 1960s?
There's never been any record of white crocodiles being donated to the museum.
Oh yeah.
That's a good sign. But Kate says that doesn't mean the white crocodile that was spotted in Punggol wasn't hunted down like the ones we see here.
So the oldest one that we have on display is from 1887.
Right,
that was shot in the Serangoon River by George P. Owen. This is him with a tiger that he shot as well.
Yeah. Were they trophy hunts?
The wild ones were getting in the way of progress on the island, but they also shot them for trophies too, because at the time they're considered exotic.
Right.
Especially if it was a white one, it would have been a really big deal as a trophy, because they're quite rare.
Interesting.
But even if the white crocodile did survive these hunts, Kate warns me there's a chance it suffered a fate far worse than death.
There was a huge trade of crocodile skins.
Oh really?
This is an image of an early crocodile farm.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of crocodiles in there.
Crocodiles.
These are samples of crocodile skin. This part is from the belly.
For handbags?
Yeah, they would use that for handbags.
Kate tells me that farms like these probably started out by catching wild crocodiles and breeding them. This terrible trade stretched from the colonial era right up to the 80s. In fact, these farms got so rich that they became a favorite target for robbers. I can imagine a group of crocodile farmers making their way to the river to hunt down the Punggol white crocodile and sell its skin for big money. But if I did catch it, I would definitely brag about it. And yet, no such article of its capture exists. And it is not here in the museum either. So is there a chance that the Punggol white crocodile made it out alive?
It could be. Crocodiles are quite elusive. Crocodiles don't really have a geopolitical boundary or the idea of that. They'll go where's best for them. It might have even left what we call Singapore.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of sad. I'm a bit disappointed because I don't think there's a high possibility that a white crocodile can be found. It must have been a pretty big crocodile, and big crocodiles need a large habitat and a lot of food. So because of all our development and the intense pressures from the crocodile farms and hunting, it definitely could have swam away. So the photos I'm looking at are photos that I've taken at the museum with Kate. These are really huge and powerful creatures, but they really were quite persecuted, which is really quite sad. She doesn't think that the white crocodile can still be found in Singapore, probably swam off somewhere else. But I'm not very discouraged. I'm willing to push on.
If there's one thing that wildlife photography taught me, it is patience and persistence. What if it didn't swim away after all, and is hiding right under our noses all this time?
He told me when his wife was about 7 months pregnant, he actually came to Singapore.
看这边啊，这个笑，哇，这个帅，这个。 I think there's an immense sense of satisfaction that you are able to make somebody happy with something as simple as a portrait.
The challenge to ensure economic development without depleting natural resources.
Back in the days, we don't really talk about sustainability.
There are great challenges in front of us.
Find out what's at stake and the solutions within our reach.
The sky, or rather the ocean, is the limit.
And only future will tell us how successful we are going to be.
Your brand new documentary destination, Sustainability and Survival. Mondays, only on CNA.
What if aging is no longer a fact of life?
Taking this supplement reduces 7 years of biological age within 6 months.
I'm Joshua Lim, and I'll be decoding the future on the new season of Why It Matters.
Saturday on Japan Hour.
うわ、山笠ってこんなでかいんすか。いや、これ担ぐ人嬉しいんだろうな。でも
福岡県福岡市での昼寝し旅。
本当に鮮度が良くないとアナゴは刺身できない。
Japan Hour, Saturday on CNA. Japan Hour is brought to you by Sumitomo Corporation. And SMBC.
I'm a wildlife photographer, and for my next project, I want to photograph the Punggol white crocodile that was last seen in 1960. But there's a chance that it might no longer be in Singapore. Despite the odds, I still want to make one last attempt to look for it. And so I returned to Sungai Buloh, one of Singapore's largest surviving mangroves, and a very popular hangout spot for crocodiles.
Mangroves are awesome. It's such a great and unique ecosystem.
I seek out Dan, a mangrove restoration specialist who spends so much time here he knows every nook and cranny like the back of his hand. He's definitely my last best shot at tracking down the white crocodile.
From your years of experience, have you perhaps come across a white crocodile or a light-coloured crocodile?
Well, I've certainly seen lots of snakes. Seen some crocodiles. I'm yet to see a white crocodile though.
Okay.
So it looks like the white crocodile might have really swum away. But on the bright side, Dan reveals that there's greater protection for mangroves in Singapore today. And that means a healthier home for the crocodiles that are still here.
We have some really nice mangroves all over Singapore, mostly along the north coast. We can take a look.
All right.
I'll show you.
Sure.
So we are just here in Sungai Buloh Wetland Reserve. There's mangrove that goes all along the west coast.
Okay.
And then if we go to the northeast,
that's Ubin.
particularly around Pulau Ubin, and then also Pulau Tekong has some really old mangroves as well. Now that's the existing mangrove, but there are some patches of restored mangroves. In the 1970s and 80s, a couple of different patches you can see on this map were restored in Pasir Ris, and then more recently we're starting to think about mangrove restoration on Pulau Ubin.
Okay. What makes a mangrove restoration successful?
The most successful restoration projects work with and not against nature.
Oh, okay.
So we have mangrove propagules, such as these here.
All right.
These are the seeds of the mangroves that have germinated and then dropped off the tree. And these are the first things that we would either plant or would naturally help to regenerate a restoration project. And these have quite specific requirements for the sort of conditions that they can grow in. So what we have to do is try and revert the environment back to what it used to be before we disturbed it, so that these propagules will have the best chance of survival.
All that hard work seems to be paying off. Dan shares that since the 1980s, restored mangrove forests have expanded by at least 14.6 hectares. That's the size of 20 football fields.
So So we have quite a fragmented coastline, and mangrove restoration helps us to restore some of the key stepping stones for mobile animals such as crocodiles to be able to go between different mangrove patches along our coast. It's really great to be part of the community of people that are working to protect mangroves and also the wildlife.
What I find most interesting was the different mangrove restoration techniques and how much passion it takes to figure out different strategies to help them grow. Dan's work's very important in ensuring that the crocodiles have a healthy habitat to live in. Without the habitat, they wouldn't be around. I've always believed that humans and animals can coexist. It's just we need to learn how and really accept them as a part of this world.
I don't know if I'll ever see the Pongo white crocodile, but maybe there's a bigger story that I can tell. The story of crocodiles in Singapore, and how they have defied the odds to find a happy home here, like this one.
I've seen crocodiles before, but never one this small. You can see how young it is even in its behavior. People are walking by, it's just lying there, doesn't really care because maybe it doesn't even know much better. All this while we've been looking at dead crocodiles from the past, stuffed crocodiles. For me, these encounters are really, really encouraging. When I see such a young, cool predator living very comfortably in the natural environment, it's great because it means that everything else here is healthy. We're doing a good job of protecting them, and hopefully I have many more of these encounters in the years to come.
Time should not be a barrier for you to explore things.
A lot of elements that we have not gotten a chance to do elsewhere has appeared in this house.
At the final living room space, you were open to the fantastic views beyond.
I really like that transference of emotions and thoughts to their brains, to their hands. It's an amazing process.
Chefs isn't that glamorized back then, but that was what I wanted to be.
It's like a legacy that I need to carry over, but through food.
Breaking news.
Chanting for Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha to step down.
Long live the people! We will be seeing sporadic protests flare up from time and time again.
Key developments.
37th ASEAN Summit.
Live events. Analysis and perspectives.
We will really be seeing vaccines soon.
Imports, which were expected to grow slightly, contracted 2.1%.
News that matters. Asia Now, daily. On CNA.
We must decarbonize, and we must decarbonize fast.
we are in a race against time. We have to think of this as a climate emergency.
We need to empower the individual to make good choices and be part of the solution instead of being part of the problem.
Discover the future of energy, materials and food on Climate Trailblazers. Watch it on demand on CNA.
Jakarta's notorious traffic congestion is also a sign of growing prosperity for the capital's 10 million inhabitants. I'm Saiful Bahri Ismail, CNA, Jakarta.
This is Asia Now.
It is 6 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 3:30 New Delhi and 5 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Jill Newbronner. At this hour, Singapore and India will resume commercial flights for the fully vaccinated a week from now. Quarantine-free travel between Australia and Singapore comes into effect after nearly 2 years. The Malaysian state of Malacca swears in a new chief minister after a resounding victory for the Barisan Nasional coalition in state polls. Singapore and India have agreed to resume scheduled commercial passenger flights between the two countries. These include the quarantine-free flights from India to Singapore starting from the 29th of November. There will be 6 quarantine-free vaccinated travel lane flights from Chennai, Delhi and Mumbai each day. Short-term visitors and long-term pass holders from India will need to apply for the vaccinated travel pass. Airlines can also operate non-VTL flights, but these passengers will be subject to the prevailing public health requirements for entry into Singapore's Civil Aviation Authority understands that travellers are looking forward to the launch of the quarantine-free flights. However, it assures travellers that there is no need to rush to apply for vaccinated travel passes. Applications open tomorrow at 6 p.m. The first quarantine-free flight between Australia and Singapore has landed in Melbourne. It is part of the vaccinated travel lane that was announced last month. So far, only vaccinated visitors from New Zealand and Singapore can enter Australia. Neo Rong Wei was on that flight and reports from Melbourne Airport.
It was a fairly packed 7-hour red-eye flight, and the atmosphere on board earlier was one of excitement and anticipation. Now, apart from bringing tourists here, this is the first of many flights to reunite families after more than 18 months. Here at the arrival hall, there were many emotional scenes of hugs and handshakes among loved ones and friends.
I'm quite excited. My partner's from Australia and he's back here to see family after about 2 years. I'm really happy to come back on the first flight just because it's like the first chance back and then we would spot the tickets and come back here.
Now, to fly here, travellers must first apply for an electronic authorization online or through a mobile app. Those 12 and older must also have a valid vaccination certificate. Of course, all must take one PCR test back in Singapore and then another one here within 24 hours. For now, only New South Wales, Victoria and Canberra are part of this travel lane. People can still travel to other states, but will need to face different quarantine and test requirements. Now, the VTL was first announced last month. Both Prime Ministers have said it would restore the close connectivity between the two countries, which share long-standing interests in many areas like trade, education and defence. Over 50,000 Singaporeans live in Australia, while over 8,000 Singaporean students enroll here each year before the pandemic. In 2019, Australia was also among the top 10 countries flying into Singapore. Neo Rong Wei, CNA, Melbourne.
Barisan Nasional's Sulaiman Muhammad Ali has been sworn in as the 13th Chief Minister of Malacca. He took his oath of office just hours after the coalition defeated 2 major political blocs. Now, they secured 2/3 majority in the 28-seat State Assembly. Pakatan Harapan won 5 seats, while Perikatan Nasional won 2. Voter turnout was more than 60%.
Saya ingin merakamkan ucapan terima kasih yang tidak terhingga di atas kepercayaan
yang diberikan kepada saya bagi memimpin bumi Melaka yang bertuah ini. Saya tidak sama sekali akan menghampakan harapan rakyat negeri ini dan seterusnya berjanji akan memikul tanggungjawab yang diberikan dengan seikhlas hati.
Alhamdulillah, kemenangan Barisan Nasional dalam pilihan raya negeri Melaka ini